At the Center for International Policy and also the author of Dissident Foreign Policy. Very good to have you here on the program, sir. Give us your analysis now of what the conversation is like among the top leaders in Tehran. What kind of options are they looking at facing these threats from Trump?
Yes, well, both sides, at least on the surface, still seem far away when it comes to a diplomatic solution. Iran, judging by the rhetoric of the Iranian foreign minister in Turkey today, seem to still remain within its traditional red lines on uranium enrichment, not negotiating over the missile program. And so in many ways, I would argue that both sides don't have good options at the moment. Iran arguably is in a position where Trump feels like he has to do something. He's threatened Iran. He threatened Iran over the protests. And if Trump wants to do even a limited attack, as he's done in the past in certain military engagements, Iran is threatening that it will react in a major way so as to deter these kind of attacks being waged against Iran every several months. As we know, the war happened last June, the Israeli and then U.S. attack against Iran. So Iran is in a scenario where to deter further attacks and escape this situation of continued attacks against it, it wants to escalate to a much higher level in the event of a war and really raise the costs for Trump and the United States.
Well, Sina, during previous attacks or following previous attacks, we've actually seen quite a measured response from Iran, not sending too many missiles, even giving advance warning before they strike. Is that the kind of response you think we would see here, or are we looking at a possibility of an all-out war, as we've heard from Tehran?
Yes, so that's the key question. I mean, the way Iran has responded to attacks against it, arguably since the assassination of Iranian General Soleimani in 2020, it has reinforced this perception in the US and Washington and Israel that Iran is restrained, it's weak, and that it's not willing to counter-escalate to the levels that would really incur a cost and a political cost for the United States. So this is the perception that many people in Iran, I'm reading Iranian strategists and analysts right now, and they're arguing that the way Iran has traditionally responded has brought it to this point where the United States is contemplating another attack. And if Iran wants to get out of this kind of existential spiral in their telling, it has to react in a more forceful way, and it has to inflict a tangible cost on the United States. And that is most likely going to take the form of trying to inflict some level of instability in the Persian Gulf and energy exports to get the price of oil to go up globally and inflict serious U.S. casualties that we hadn't seen up until now. So this seems, it's a very dangerous situation. It has, again, taken on this kind of more existential dimension for the Iranian state. It's been pushed into a corner without a lot of good options. And so, these are the scenarios that most likely are ahead of us.
Sina, you talk about an existential threat against the state. If indeed the U.S. would even take out Iran's top leadership, how would that play out in Iran, not having a central authority anymore to manage the country?
So it's hard to say. I mean, Iran is the Islamic Republic is a very entrenched state. It's very institutionalized with multiple layers of institutions. There's obviously the Revolutionary Guards. There's the elected presidential government, the parliament. They do have a system for electing the supreme leader through this body known as the Council of Experts, Assembly of Experts. So most likely, it depends on, with the Venezuela situation, it seemed like there was some deal made with other elements of the Maduro regime, namely Rodriguez, and the U.S. was able to kidnap Maduro and is now working with her. But in Iran, Khamenei, the current supreme leader, has, loyalists dominating a lot of these institutions. The system overall is more entrenched. So to see a similar scenario playing out in Iran, or it playing out as easily, is much harder to imagine, and Iran has more military capabilities. And again, this capability, or this will be a test of it, and another major test in this circumstance, whether it has the ability to counter escalate and hit back in such a way that the U.S. will be deterred from these actions.
Sina Toossi, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.